Good afternoon to each and every one of us. Hope you guys are doing amazing and you ate your lunch today. Take tea. Hope the day is going well as Christmas is fast approaching. A happy Christmas to all of you. As today we are going to talk about the impact of carbon, especially fossil fuel, on accelerating climate change and its harmful effects on both the environment and human life. So today, before we dive into the conversation and as well as knowing more about the solution that we are seeking, because our environment is suffering, we all are suffering due to the impact of carbon. Before we go in, I'm Patricia Dominic, the moderator for today's program, and if you all can introduce yourself, it will be great.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. By the name Evelyn Appear Samuel, and we are here today for a very important discussion, as mentioned by the moderator today. On today's discussion, I'm going to stand as a lawyer here, and I'm going to oppose the discussion today. Thank you.
Based on the narrative made by moderator, I'm by name Edward Mariala Cage, government official, Ministry of Water, Resource and Irrigation, Inspector for Public Relations. As a senior government official, there are some pressing issues. There are some pressing concerns surrounding the climate change and the role of fossil fuel. And in this regard, it contributes to green gas emission and they remain a cornerstone of our economy.
I'm Robert Baba Francis, the CEO of Petroleum Company in South Sudan. On our today's topic, I'm going to lament on effects of petroleum in the area or areas of the petroleum. So thanks.
Thank you very much, moderator. I'm by name Dr. Baba Elijagor, professional journalist. I'm going to take you through some points here. First of all, we need to know why we study climate change. Second, we need to know what are the cases of the climate change. So, I'm very happy to be with you here.
Good afternoon, I'm by name Yandine Daniel. I'm the environment of today. So I'm going to talk about the effects that are caused by the fuels in the human lives and environment. Thank you.
Thank you and everyone in the studio, not forgetting moderator. I'm by name Panther Robiuk. A senior journalist is going to take you over with the point of climate change in the areas. And thank you.
Thank you so much once again, and you all are welcome. Feel free, and let's make an impact. Let's raise points, because we need to seek for solution. Our country, our lands, our environment is suffering. We are all suffering because of carbon, and let's get a solution from this panel discussion of today. So before we dive, let me just ask one of the panelists today, Panta Mabior Ajak. As a journalist, can you tell us your points that you have thought about all this while, so that we can see forward a way of coming up with something that would be great?
Thank you, moderator. I'm by name Panther. As moderator said, I'm going to take you through the points of climate change. Before I go into point, I will first define the term climate change. The climate change refers to the long-term change in average weather pattern on Earth. In that, here we are coming to the point. The point here, we have agricultural and food security risks. Agricultural and food security risks change in weather pattern, such as prolong the dryness of the weather in the area. Also, there are excessive rainfalls. They have rainfalls in the area. It causes food insecurity. Before I reach the other point, I'll go back to moderator, and this is my first point.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Panther Mabior, for the point you raised. But somewhere you talked about excessive rain can lead to lack of having harvest and all this. How does it really affect the ground that makes it not to produce land? I mean, food. That's what you said, obviously.
Thank you for the question. The heavy rainfall, it affects the areas whereby when the rain is there, it causes flooding. And when it causes flooding, it displaces people who are living around the area. And this is the effects.
How does it really relate to carbon? Because this is when we see the topic, it's more about the impact of carbon. How does that relate to the carbon?
Based on that, I'm going to tell you the view on that. For the climate change that I mentioned before, in heavy rainfall there, we have lowland, low streaming, and the highland streaming. When we look into that, the flood which is caused by climate change, it affects the community, entire community, to cause the replacement of them, and also migration, to cause migration from one place to another place.
All right, thank you so much for this point, and I believe out of this we can look forward for a way that can be able to help us solve in this case, especially the migration and all this, because when people migrate from area, it will be very hard for others like to produce food crops and all this. So I think this is one of the major challenge, how to manage rainfall, and especially in the low areas. So let's hear from environmentalist Nyanteng Daniel Tau. Can you tell us your points that you have come up with?
Thank you very much. For me here as my position as environmentalist, and my name is Nyanteng Daniel, I agree that the impact of the carbon, particularly from the fossil fuel, is accelerating the climate change and causing a harmful effect on the environment and the human life at the same time. So first of all, when I come up with the first point is, the first point that we have from the carbons, we call it as a greenhouse, and we can also call it the greenhouse gas emission. So first of all, I will define it, because some people may be asking themselves that, what do you mean by the greenhouse? Maybe some of my colleagues here even don't know what this term means, but I am going to define it so that you will have a foundation from this definition. So the greenhouse is referred to the natural process by which is the creating gas in the earth tapped from the heat from the sun, keeping the plant from warm enough to support the life. So in the greenhouse we have some gases that we call it in general the greenhouse emissions. Like for example, we have the carbon dioxide, and then we have the methane gas. So these are gases that we can call them as environmentalists that are causing harm to the human and also the environment. When we come to, like for example, if I may ask, is like what really causes the harmful effect on the causing the carbon? You may be like for real, is it really going to affect the peoples? Yeah, it can affect. Like by burning the gasoline and the gas, it can affect, it can cause air pollution. It can also cause water pollution. So even though if there is some grasses there and the water is not clean, they will not even cause. Even if you drink a water that which is not healthy or it's poisoned by gasoline or gas, it may affect you as a human being. So this is the point that I have respect, which calls the greenhouse. And thank you.
All right, Nyanteng Daniel, thank you so much for the point you talked. You really explained it very well. But my major concern is where you talked about air pollution. Yeah, you explained water pollution very well, but then can you clarify air pollution? How does that one affect the environment? Maybe someone somewhere even doesn't know. Yeah. So I think it would be very good if you have a clue how it affects the environment.
Okay. Thank you for your questions. What I mean by the air pollution is where, for you as a human being, you need to breathe a healthy oxygen. So if you're in a place whereby it's full of gas and gasoline, you will not be able to breathe. So this is why I mentioned the relationship between the air pollution and then the carbon and the fossil fuel.
All right, thank you so much. I believe this is now very clear. And then, as we are going to look at lawyers from lawyer side, how does that? What are your points? What do you have for us to present today? Because looking at the environment, and then the carbon, it's a very huge topic for today. Just can you tell us one of their points?
Well, thank you once again, Miss Moderator. As mentioned earlier, my name is Evelyn Apio Samuel, and as a lawyer in today's discussion, I am going to oppose and disagree with today's motion that the fossil fuels are the cause of all causing bad harms to human lives and the plants and around the environment. Why I said so is because of some of my few points I have down, and one of the point is let's look at the global context. Yes, as a lawyer, I urge that fossil fuels contribute to the climate change, but let's not forget also that those fossil fuels are the most reliable and affordable source of energy that is used mostly by many countries globally. And we are not going to stop the use of the fossil fuel anytime soon, since we know that a complete transition for this fossil fuel is not going to be anytime soon. We are not going to stop using the fossil fuels. As a lawyer, I urge we must continue to use the fossil fuels, because the fossil fuels makes our movement and life easier, because they produce electricity and they also help us in manufacturing things which are very important in the houses and other workplaces. So with this point, I stand strongly by saying I disagree with the motion that says the fossil fuels cause more harms on lives, but we should also look at the positive side of it. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Evelyn, a lawyer who really talked a lot on that. And how about what is fossil fuel all about? I didn't get that. And as well as looking at the manufacturing things you talked about, what are the things that fossil fuel we can be able to produce from fossil fuel? Because you said we can't stop using it because it's very important. What are the things?
Thank you so much, Ms. Moderator, for your question. I think it's a very important question you just raised. There are a lot of things that comes out of the use of the fossil fuels. When we talk of the electricity, first of all, we are using electricity from these fossil fuels. Our TV operates because of that. Most of the homes use water. They don't go and fetch from the streams. They just use their taps at homes. It is all because of that power that they use to generate the water from the main source. So it is very important that these fossil fuels helps a lot. There are so many. And the other question is about what is fossil fuels. These fossil fuels are the carbon gases that they are natural gases. There are so many, include the coils, oils, and many others.
All right, thank you so much, Evelyn. This is amazing point you raised. Now, looking at opponent side, people who do not agree with our motion of today, Robert Baba Francis, can you welcome as a CEO? Can you just tell us what point you do have for us today?
Thank you, Mrs. Moderator. Actually, on my point as the CEO of a petroleum company, I'm going to talk of the effects or impacts of what are happening in that places, production areas. So actually, we have any health issues that are affecting our people there, our citizens there in the area. So we actually, the company, we manage to try to talk to government, to talk to the citizens, because we as a company, we don't have a right time to talk to them. So we try to talk to government, state and national government, at least to try to talk with our citizens so that they have to work. They should not sit there, settle near the company, production area. At least they have to go somehow a bit far from the company. So we try to talk with them, with national and state government. But yani, there's no any there positive there, the impact coming from the government, whether they are national or state government. So. And it's not our concern. We try to talk with them, but they haven't implement their positions.
Welcome. So, CEO, so what is the point concerning the motion of the climate change?
Of the climate change. Actually, my point is coming directly to the what we call environmental effects. Yeah, because in environmental effects, it will actually petroleum maybe they will destroy our soil, our soil and so forth there. So actually in every situation, or in every government, or in every country, petroleum has effects, whether positive or negative. For the effects there, for the negative side, it can destroy, or it can destroy their human life, maybe even soil and so forth there. Then for the positive side, it can generate employment to the youths, community living within that place. It can generate maybe infrastructure development and so forth there. So that's the point.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. CEO, you talked about government to talk to people to move from where the companies are being built. As a CEO, why do you build your companies in a places where citizens are, where people are, instead of building it far from where people are?
Thank for the question, Mrs. Moderator. Actually, the time when the government gave us the contract, we went there, then we found other people. Many people are all there already settling there. So we try to talk to them, so at least we try to talk to government, as I have said before, for them to relocate the citizen out from that place. Then few of them left, but the majority are there. Then we as a company, without that, we don't have any power to migrate or to resettle them from there. So we try to talk to national government and state government so that they can evacuate them from there. But I don't know whether the government try to talk or they don't. So I don't know.
Alright, thank you so much. Due to time, I don't think I have more questions to ask on this, but let's go to the next person, Baba Elijah, a doctor. Can you just tell us one of the points that you have prepared for this topic today?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I want to welcome all my colleagues here in this panel discussion. As I said earlier, I'm by name called Dr. Baba Elijah Gor, professional doctor. So my colleague Panther is divided climate change as referred to the long-term and change of average of temperature, dam precipitation, and other atmospheric conditions in specific regions. As the doctor, we need to know why do we study the climate change. We study climate change. The purpose of study climate change is to understand the trends. Medical professionals study climate to identify trends that may impact public health, agriculture, and ecosystems. Number two, preventing health issues. Understanding climate pattern can help to predict and mitigate health risks associated with extreme weather, such as heat waves, flood, and vector-borne disease. Number three, guiding policy decision. Climate and knowledge to critical for informing healthcare policy, rescue management, and adapting strategy for communities at risk from climate related to health impact. And the point also I want to talk about it, the cases of the climate change. We, the doctors, will say that the climate change, the cases of climate change, number one is natural factors. What is the natural factors? Like flood is natural factors, volcanic eruption, release ash and gas into the atmosphere, reflecting sunlight and cooling the earth. like what happened in Indonesia in 1815 in a city called Tombora, Indonesia. That in that time the climate change affected this area and killed more than 8,000 people in one day. Number two, human activities. We have human activities like greenhouse gas emission, the burning of the fossil oil, coal, oil, natural gas. For example, in South Sudan here, we have the area of production oil like Mulut and Bantu and other areas. When we see there is some births of the abnormal children due to the burning of the oil, natural gas in the area of production. Deforestation, cutting down trees, forest reducing the number of the trees available to absorb CO2, increasing atmospheric carbon level. Greenhouse gas emission. My argument: fossil fuel release significant amount of carbon dioxide, CO2, and CO4 into the atmosphere, which are major greenhouse gases. For example, the burning of the coal and oil for energy is responsible for about 70% of CO2 emission in many countries, leading to increased global temperature. This is my point. This is my argument to the point of the green gas emission. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Baba Elijah. Thank you so much for the point, and I believe it's very clear. Now, looking at the government side, what do you have for us? What's your point for today? Because earlier someone said they tried to talk to you to relocate people from the area where they're producing oil and all this, but then you didn't do anything about that. What's your point today, and are you able to respond to them as well?
By name Edward Mariala Kate, Government Official, Ministry of Water Resource Irrigation. I will talk about the impact, and those impact they contain positive and negative. What are the impact of the fossil fuel to the government of South Sudan? One, economic dependent on fossil fuel, and as such, it is a cornerstone for our economy development, which provides energy and employment.
All right, thank you so much for this. This is first, each person has presented one point so far, and I believe it's very clear, unless you have something to add to reduce from that point that you guys have raised. So in case anyone has a question, please let's do it before we go to the second.
I think we can go to the next point.
We go to the next one. Everything is clear.
Yeah.
All right, once again, you're welcome, Mr. Pantamabior. Tell us your second point for today.
Thank you, moderator. Without wasting time here, I will go to my second point as a senior journalist of the discussion. The second point is the human element impact in climate change. The human element impact in climate change. Climate change influences diseases in the area. As I mentioned, one, malaria and other diseases. With that, it also increasing the heart-related illness with a lot of problem due to air pollution in the environment.
All right, thank you so much. Anyone with any question to him? Additional subtraction? Or we good to go? All right, since there's no question, I believe your point is very clear. Let's go to another proponent, someone. Nyenteng, you're welcome once again. Tell us your second point.
Thank you once again. My second point is environmental degradation. What do you mean by environmental degradation? Is like the change in the place that where you are. So when you talk about environmental degradations, it has its harmful effect in the environment, for the wildlife, the human being as well. So if there is environmental degradation happening in a certain area causing by the carbon, so all the animals that were in this area will run out from this place because it's not safe. They cannot even get something that which is good for them to eat. Even things to the human beings itself, it's depend at the same thing. So if the area that they're living in is not healthy for them, they will not be there. So the environmental degradation, it can affect the human life, but causing by the carbon, and can also affect the climate change, because there will not people that who can be even to cultivate in this area, because even though the agriculture are there and all this stuff, they will not grow at the same it is, because it have already poisoned. So this is my point that about the environmental degradation.
All right, thank you so much once again, Nyandeng Daniel. And I believe the point is clear. I don't want to ask question, but yeah, let's just move on to another opponent, Evelyn Apio, a lawyer who knows more about the environmental and all this. Can you just tell us what the impact of carbon is?
Thanks once again. I'm coming to my second point of argument based on the discussion today. My second point is about climate change itself. Climate change is a complex issue. Like, let me say, we all know that climate change is not something new to all of us. It has been there like billion years ago. And fossil fuel is not the only cause of climate change. But right now people are focusing more on the fossil fuel that is the cause of climate change, but there are various factors that contribute to the climate change, and some of the example of these factors includes the deforestations, globalization itself, like where people move, they cut a lot of trees, they do a lot of things that can cause climate change, and also volcanic eruption. These are all things that contribute to the climate change, not only the fossil fuels. And I urge that we must not just consider the fossil fuel as one of the like a factor that causes climate change. Actually, there are so many factors that cause climate change.
All right, thank you so much, Evelyn. I believe your point is very clear. I would love to ask, but let me reserve the question after you all present the next points. Definitely I'll be able to ask this question again. Let's go to Robert Baba. Can you tell us one of your points as the CEO again? Why did you build where people are? Why? There's so many why and whys, but yeah, just give us your point. Those whys will come after.
Thank you, moderator. Actually, with your question, the reason actually we build our company there or production there, place there, because that place is very strategic for us to make our production there. And then secondly, maybe for implementing any or to avoid any environmental effects to our community, at least we have to implementing stricter the regulations. That means the regulations that were given to our citizens that are living around the area, or the agreement, because during our agreement we agree with the government, we agree with the government, state and the national government, that these are the regulations that are to be given, that to guide us and to guide the citizens. So at least such kind of the regulation, at least both of us, both national and state and my company, at least we have to implement such kind of thing, so that it should not affect our people. So that's my point here.
Alright, thank you so much. I believe it's very clear, and again you have answered the question. Let's look from someone who really supports this panel seriously with his with your points. Once again, you are welcome, Dr. Baba Elijah. Can you tell us why do you support this with your second point?
Thank you, Ms. Greta. I will still continue with our discussion of today, panel discussion on climate change. My second point is air pollution and respiratory illness. My argument to that point, the conversion of the fossil fuel not only contributed to climate change, but also release pollutants that directly harm human health. For example, we have a study have shown that air quality degradation from fish oil burning lead to the higher rates of the asthma, lung cancer, and also cardiovascular disease, particularly in the urban area. This is what can I say about this point.
Thank you so much, Baba Dr. Baba Dr. Elijah once again. This is an amazing point you raised. But yeah, let's hear again also from a senior government official. What's your next point on this panel today?
Thank you again, moderator. My second point based on the impact to the government in the area, security, energy. As a government official, my argument is that fossil fuels are essential for maintaining energy security, especially in the region where renewable energy infrastructure is not yet fully developed. So in this case, the fossil fuels are deeply rooted in our current infrastructure and energy security strategies.
Okay, once again, thank you all for presenting your second points. But before we go to the third point, anyone with any question, anyone with any addition or subtraction, something you think you might have missed out when you are presenting, can you just put it out before we move to the next?
Okay. Based on the point number one, that is economic defense on fossil fuel, and as such, it is also economic empowerment. So let me put it deeply the way how it creates a job to the people. It creates the job to the people through manufacturing sectors and industries in the visual technology. This is how it creates job opportunities, because if the fossil fuel, they create industries, they can employ people, and as such, it contributes to the economic growth in the government.
And it is doing that right now. Is it happening now?
In most cases, as it is, our country is a new country, so in the future we will demand and adapt to the international standards.
Yeah, because you mentioned it creates job to youth, but if you can see now, okay, maybe the jobs are there, that's why I'm asking this, is it really there or it's not?
Yeah.
If it's there, why are youth still crying? We don't have jobs. You see a graduate is there riding boda all the time, someone who is a graduate having degree, others with masters are there in the market selling those small things. Why?
Based on that one, it is there, but it is very limited, and on top of that, as it is a war-liberated countries, many people were focused on liberation, and there is no qualifier on energy sector. So many specialists are on a business basis and accounting sector. So sometimes they are specialists from different countries.
If you get me clearly, I said graduates. But then if you also look at the positions, it's taken by elderly people, of which this is where they are not graduates. By then they were focusing on liberation and all this. Why are they still on the top positions? Why are they still on those positions, leaving down the graduates actually when they are supposed? And moreover, they are old enough now to retire and then just be at home with their kids.
On that point, it is clear that because as per now, because there are two types of learning. There is learning at school and learning in job. Those people that were there and then they got a technical skill, we can help them in the employment sector. And they rather put forward that they were engaged by the war, so they did not start their job. So they started now recently. This is now the beginning of their work.
Okay, so they want to enjoy. Alright, thank you so much, Senior Government Official Edward Mariam. Let's move to the third points of this discussion on impact of carbon, especially fossil and all this, on environment and then human, because all of us are facing these challenges in our daily lives. So, Banta Mabior, as a journalist, again, can you tell us what point you have for us?
In the studio, those who are in the studio for the discussion of public speaking. Here I'm going to the third point for my argument. And the third point is raising sea level. When we come into it, melting glaciers of the ice caps, along with the thermal expansion of water, seas or seas water. When you come into that, due to raising of temperature, it causes the expansions of the seas or rivers, also lakes. Long time ago, the seas, when we take a measure now, or when we look into the river, let me take an example of River Nile. When we go into River Nile right now, the season we are, you will see now the water increase, whereby you cannot swim and cross the river due to the increasement. That's my point.
Okay, how does it affect?
It affects because when we come into the increasement of the river, or sometimes river it having the resources inside, and that is sources. When the water flow from the highland to the lowland, it move all that on to the other side. It affects the highland people who are there, because they may not get what they get due to the flowing of water.
And sometimes it can even take lives.
Yeah, it takes lives.
All right, thank you so much for this point, senior journalist, Tamabior. Now let's look at the proposal site again. Nyandeng Daniel Zhao, can you tell us, for us as a specialist at the environment, can you tell us what point you have for us?
Okay, my third point is the global warming. As we all know that the global warming is a serious issue. So when I come and define what's the term the global warming mean, we can say that it's referred to the long-term increase the average of the temperature due to the activities that are caused by the humans. So when we want to define these things, how is it caused by the humans? As a humans, there are some people that are working in the gas station and so forth. So for them, when they burn the gasoline and the gas, it can cause a lot of things that who can harm the human life. It can also comes to the climate change. So these gases are heated from the sun and temperature, and then it can lead to the global warming. And also we can also know it as greenhouse emissions that I have mentioned it all, like carbon dioxide and the methane gas. So when we come to the major causes, what do really cause the global warming? If you may ask yourself, maybe you don't get the right answer. What is the main thing that always causes the global warming? So one point that I can raise is that these greenhouses, they contribute, they are the major contributor to the global warming, which it can cause even the climate change. And there is it can have some harmful effect in our lives as a human being and in the environment itself. So when we come to the economic side, it can affect by mentioning the natural disaster. When we say the natural disaster caused by the flood, for example, if the floods had happened in a certain area, people will migrate from their place to other place. So they will not get a place whereby they can sit, and can also cause them in economic crisis whereby they cannot rebuild their houses again. So they need the money, they need a place to stay with, and they need a safety place whereby they cannot get sickness from the natural disaster, what is caused by the flood. Like for example, we have typhoid, we have malaria, and there are some certain people that who can affect them and harm them. Like for example, we have the elderly people and the children. So these people, they need a special care, and we need to take care of them. Wherever there is something like that is happening, it's our responsibility to go and support them and help them in their situation and what they are facing. So these are my points, and thank you.
Thank you so much. You know, whenever I mention a greenhouse, anyone mentioning a greenhouse, I'll just think maybe there's a certain house in green color. That's what you are meaning. What is greenhouse?
The greenhouse is a combination of the gases. Like I have mentioned, we have the carbon dioxide and then we have the methane gas. So we call it in general the greenhouse, but with differentiating, there are so many. We have the nitrate, and then we have the carbon dioxide and the methane gas. So this is the general name for it.
All right, thank you so much for this point, Nyandeng, Daniel. Now let's go to an opponent, someone who does not want our point. Does not support this point today. Welcome again, Evelyn Japio. You're welcome. Tell us, why don't you support this point?
My third point of argument on today's discussion is about the economic impact. My colleague said something about it, but let me go deeply into it. Economic impact, let me say, if we emphasize the potential, we eliminate the usage of fossil fuels. What then happened to those particular developed countries that relies on the use of fossil fuels? There will be loss of jobs, and there will be more suffering in the country, because these fossil fuels provide jobs for some people who doesn't have opportunities to get office jobs. These fossil fuels, there are factories, factories and other related sectors can employ people those factories that produce maybe water. They employ a lot of people that would be there just to help, just pass things. They get money. And as a lawyer, I disagree that we eliminate the use of the fossil fuel, and I'm not going to set a law we are not going to use the fossil fuel, because it helps people get jobs.
All right, Mrs. Lawyer Evelyn Appiah, thank you so much for this point, and I believe it's very valid. Now let's go to CEO again. Why do you propose this? Why do you oppose this motion?
Okay, let me give you my point. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Moderator. Actually, talking of fissile, is it fissile or fissile soil? The oil. Actually, I don't have much to say concerning that point. But what I'm going to give or to say, there's a need of cooperation. There's a need of cooperation between government and the company, the one producing oil there, so that at least we have to get we have to minimize such kind of bad things that are affecting our citizens there. For example, such kind of disease that are affecting them. We have there are some women giving birth to some. They are giving birth to some. No other abnormal children, and maybe disabled and so forth there. So at least there's a need between our company or the oil producing companies and government and state government, at least, so that we have to come up together so that we can build a strong relationship to avoid any such kind of things in producing area. So I think it can happen. It can happen if the government is willing to cooperate with us.
All right. Thank you so much. There's someone from government official here, but he will later respond to us why they are not cooperating at the moment with you, because you have the solution, but it's need them to act. Now let's go again to Papa Elijah. Why do you propose this motion as a doctor? Why do you support this motion?
Thank you once again, Mrs. Moderator. And my third point is extreme weather events. My argument to that point, climate change exacerbated by carbon emission is linked to an increase in the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events. For example, heat waves, hurricanes, and flood have become more severe, leading to displacement, injury, and fatalities. For instance, Hurricane Harvey in 2017 was floated by warmer ocean temperature. This is what I care about this point, my third point.
I like how you put it, short and brief, but yeah, thank you so much. It's very clear. And yeah, as back to oppose someone who really opposed this motion very strongly, and that is none other than the senior government official. Can you tell us what do you have for us as your third point?
As a government, we are strongly encourage a balanced energy approach. We will advocate for a balanced energy policy that includes both fossil fuel and renewable sources. We can assume that the diverse energy portfolio is crucial for reliability and stability. So in this regard, our government has a policy that incorporates both fossil fuel and renewable source. We can ensure stability and sustainability in the transition in the economic sector.
All right, your point is also valid. Thank you so much for that. But before we go to the fourth point, anyone with a question, anyone with subtraction, addition to add before we move? Anything you think you might have missed out during your presentation of your third points?
Yeah, I'm trying to say it. I left with the point, not the point, but the small that I want to add. As I talk in the race of cis labor, the threatening coastal cities within the area, and also cause loss of life in the area. This is the small things that I left behind. I'm glad for the moderator to give me the chance to add.
All right, thank you so much for this, and thank each and every one of you for raising your third points. I believe all is valid, and during later on we'll be able to compile everything, and then we'll look for a perfect solution on how we can mitigate this issue of climate change, or otherwise we cannot mitigate it. Now let's look at the fourth point, starting from Mabir again. Panta Mabir, as a journalist, why do you support this motion for today? What's your point? Fourth point, why do you think this motion is valid again?
Okay, thank you, moderator. I'm supporting the point because when we come into the fourth point of mine, we have more extreme weather event. What I'm meaning of extreme is extreme mean the site of intervals. Climate change is contributing to the increased frequency and intensity of the intervals or weather interval event, such as recencies. The word recencies mean a suburb of a tropical, usual with the heavy rains and wind. In that, heatwave, welfare and flooded, and so on, cause to spread the great distance of the citizen. Also, interprocess with the ecosystem. The word ecosystem is a system formed by the interaction of the community or the NGO. This is the word ecosystem mean, and human livelihood, as well as I mentioned, more with the event.
All right, thank you so much, senior journalist Pantha Mabir Ajak. Thank you so much for this point. It is very good and well explained, but looking also at that, anyone with any question for him, you want to argue with the point he raised? Are we good to go? Since the silence always means yes, we are good to go. Now let's go to also someone who really supports the motion of today. Why do you think it's very important, or we leave Tabon to just be there instead of mitigating it? Nyanteng Daniel, as environmentalist, can you tell us your fourth point? What do you have to share with us on this?
Okay. The fossil fuel has impact, especially to the health. So the harmful effect of the climate change concerning the climate change they are related to the climate change plus the health impact, because anything has its own impact. So by increasing of the air pollution, the air pollution heat wave, and then it can come with separate diseases, and also it can impact the human life and human health. Like I have mentioned it earlier before, that the children and the elderly people are the most people that have got caused by the climate change. So for them, there are some diseases that they can affect it concerning the climate change. So the diseases that they can have is like the malaria and then the dengue fever. So these things are all bordered by the climate change. So this is my point concerning the health impact. How is it affected the environment and the human life?
All right, thank you so much, environmentalists, and I believe everything here lies on you, and you're raising really important questions which are very valid, and they are really strong points. But let's go to see from Evelyn Apio, someone who opposed this motion. What's your fourth point? Why do you think we need to?
I'm going to talk about regulations and laws, and not eliminating. As a lawyer, there are already existing laws and regulations that are there to govern the usage of the fossil fuels. The fossil fuels and the emissions, rather than eliminating the use of the fossil fuels. Why I said so is because the further suggestion of this restriction on the fossil fuels might cause some illegal challenges and other problems on people. And then all we need to do is to involve implementation on those rules and the regulations set, so that we can control the fossil fuels from maybe polluting the environment and affecting people, but not eliminating it. And actually there are rules that have been, like, let me say, the international agreements about the Paris Agreement in 2015, that is under the 17 goals that were set in 2015. There is already the rules that is set on how to control the fossil fuels under the 17 goals that I mentioned, but it's only just for us to just implement them so we can control the usage of these things, but we are not going to eliminate the use of the fossil fuel.
What are the illegal elements you mentioned?
Illegal challenges, let me say, maybe loss of jobs, as we said, like when we eliminate the use of these fossil fuels, there will be loss of jobs and there will be more suffering in the countries. There will be no more movement with cars. People use cars to move everywhere. We use those fuels to go everywhere. And the electricities, these are going to be all the challenges. Like when we eliminate the use of these fossil fuels, we are going to face all these problems. And to stop all these problems, we must implement the rules and the regulations that are set there to control the pollution that are going to be produced from the fossil fuels.
All right, thank you so much. Once we eliminate, that's when we are going back to 19th century. No light, no cars, no nothing. We use our foot all this long distance. Thank you so much for this point. And again, looking at the opponent, Robert Baba, CEO, can you tell us what you have for us on the table?
Thank you once again. Actually, what I'm going to say, as you all know, what are the effects of climate change currently? Maybe I will say, as all of us are experiencing, some of our states currently affected by the floods. So at least we as a people of South Sudan and UN agencies, at least we have to come up with the collective responsibility of where at least we have to look into matter of how to avoid such kind of things. Actually, it's very hard for government or for a company to eliminate such kind of things. But I think through the UN agencies and government support and other partners, donors and so forth, I think it can be easier for us to implement some of the things that need to be put, so that at least we have to take away the issue of climate change.
All right, thank you so much. And looking also at another proposal from the proposer side, Baba Elijah, can you tell us what you have for us on the table?
Thank you very much once again. My fourth point is effect on ecosystem and biodiversity. My argument, raising temperature and changing climate pattern threaten ecosystem, leading to loss of biodiversity. For example, coral reefs sensitive to temperature changes have experienced its mass bleaching event. This affects marine life and local fisheries, dispatching food security for communities like in South Sudan here, like what happened in Bantu. People are displacement. There is no good place for the people to stay. This become according to the climate change that happened in Bantu and other area in South Sudan. This is my fourth point that I can say. That I can talk about effect on the ecosystem and biodiversity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Baba Elijah. Now, looking also at the opposite side, senior government, Edward Mario, can you tell us what you have?
Last but not least, as a government, we are considering technological advancement, because we emphasize on the potential advancement in carbon capture and storage technology. We can mitigate the environmental impact of fossil fuel while allowing their continued use during the transition. This process is allowed the government to considering some economic complication for the need for advancing the technology. We will likely to mitigate its impact in order to prevent the risk to the population.
Thank you so much, senior government official. Your points are really valid. But before we go to the last points, anyone with any question, anything you feel to left out as well, let's raise it before we move to the last point.
Yes, I have a question. I have to ask our professional doctor. Thank you, moderator, and thank you once again, Baba. So, Baba, what kind of advice can you give to our people who are there in that place of the oil producing the area? What kind of advice can you give to them so that maybe they will evacuate from that place?
Thank you very much, CEO of the company. As the doctor, a professional doctor, I can advise my people because the climate change is natural, but they can happen anytime. But what I advise you to don't cut the trees, because if you have the trees, they can protect you. But if you cut the trees, they can bring for you climate change and maybe they bring for you disease. So for my government, I wanted to study the way forward that they can overcome the climate change in the future.
Anyone with any burning argument?
As I said before, I left something very important aside. As I said, it's all about regulations and not eliminating. As a lawyer, I work hand in hand with the government, like to create public awareness to people on the importance of the fossil fuels, and also we create awareness, like advising the community or the people around, like to move aside or stay far from where those factories are, and they also should know the importance of the fossil fuels, because there are some people who doesn't know, and once they understand that those things are dangerous or harmful to their lives, they will be like, no, we don't want those things. But all I'm saying, it will create them awareness, let them know the importance of those fossil fuels, and they should also know how they can control or be safe from those things.
All right, thank you so much all for raising the 4th points.
I have a question.
Okay.
Actually, my question is going direct to our journalist here with us here. Mr. Journalist, as a professional journalist in media fraternity, so what kind of role will you play maybe to make awareness to our people who are maybe participating in deforestation and other issues there?
Okay. Thank you, CEO of the company, Robert. The question is clear to me, and I will answer based on the position that I'm in. As a journalist, in that situation, I have to take over and collect data every time. If I collect data every time, as a journalist always a voice of the voiceless. So I can go and collect the data every time, then I present for the government to know there's something happening the other side.
All right, thank you so much, each one of you, for sharing your 4th points. All are valid, and I believe they can contribute really, and can they make a very good impact on our environment, as well as our people who are living around the areas that we are really touching mostly. Now, before we go to, not before, but as we are going to the last point, which is the 5th point, can you all just make it short, summarize it, because of the interest of time and all this. Once again, you are welcome. Phantom Appear, someone who already proposed the motion. Why do you support it?
Thanks, each and everyone. Before I go into my last point, I will really appreciate the presence of you guys in the studio, not forgetting the cameraman for sure, and the other journalists around. Thanks for the support. My last point is, here is disruptions of the ecosystem and the biodiversity of the biodiversity loss. What I mean, we have 2 things here: disruption of the ecosystem. One for this, rising temperatures, changing precipitation patterns, and shifting habitats are putting pressure on ecosystem. As I stated before, ecosystem mean a system formed by the interaction of the community or the government, let me say it, NGO, in that place. It affects by that. The second is biodiversity loss. The loss of animal lose their life in the environment caused by climate change, and as a doctor stated that the climate change has been there for the whole billion years on Earth. So on that reaction, I'm sure many animals lose their life.
All right, thank you so much, senior journalist in the house, and thank you for the last point. It's pretty clear, and I believe it can make an impact. Now let's go and hear from the environmentalist who is here today, Nyanteng. Daniel, can you share with us your point?
Thank you once again. As I have come to conclusion of my argument, the last things that I want to address for the all people, not for me just an environment, is the intergenerational responsibility. For me as environmentalist, is our role to protect the planet for the future generation. Because now if we are just destroying the plant by burning the foods and the gas, the future generation will not get anything out of that. So this is our major responsibility as environmentalists, and so that we will reduce how is it impact the climate change in our environment, so that it will not cause harmful to human beings and also to the environment. In conclusion, I can say that our role is to educate the publics about how is it harmful for us to burn the gas, the fuels, and so forth. So it can harm. So whenever we address something, there are serious issues that we are facing, and it can harm in so many ways, not just only the 5 points that I have mentioned, but there are very many. But it's our role to educate and let people know how is it also harming our environment and our lives as a human beings. And there are some solutions, like there are some people who disagree that the foils cannot cause the climate change by the carbon and so forth. But I can say that there are some solutions that we can give for us as environments, like we can use the technological energy, like solar. We can use it, it cannot harm anything. It cannot harm the environment, it cannot even harm the human being as well. And also we have the wind power. So by using these things, we can reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, and it will create more sustainable energy, and it will protect our generation for furthermore, so that they will get something that our people have been keeping for a long time. So I don't say that I always agree, but there are some things that we need to reduce as a human beings, because it can cause by ourselves, not only just a natural disaster. So I have come to my point, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's very, very clear. And yeah, let's go and hear from Evelyn. What's your last point, and as well as a conclusion to us?
My last point on today's discussion, as a lawyer, I'm going to talk on the international cooperation. As a professional lawyer, I emphasize on the importance of international cooperation in addressing climate change, because any significant actions on the fossil fuel must involve collaboration with other countries, since we know that this climate change is like a global thing. So we urge all the countries to come together and discuss more on how to control those fossil fuels. And this is a very important point to all the people, so that we see the positive side of the fossil fuels as nations and worldwide.
All right, thank you so much, Evelyn, for this wonderful presentation. Let's just, without wasting time, let's hear from Robert Baba, someone who opposed the motion for today as a CEO.
Actually, first of all, before I will give my point, I have to thank each and every person from different departments. My final words, actually, I'm going to say, we as a company, we are going to do our best, or to try our best at least, and to build health centers in the affected areas, and build schools, so that our citizens they will acquire with their medication and education system. Then finally, I have to thank the team who are with us, trying to cover our program. So I'm very proud, very excited to be with you, and thank you very much.
All right, let's just, without wasting time, let's just hear from the doctor. What's your last point as well as your last conclusion with a message to people?
Thank you very much, Mrs. Patricia, the moderator of the final discussion of today. As I come to my last point is very important: food security and water security. Climate change impact agriculture, productivity, and water availability, posing risk to food security and public health. Like in South Sudan here, we know all the land of South Sudan, you can cultivate, you can make your agriculture, and you can get your food. But due to the droughts and changing rainfall pattern, heavily to the crops failures. For instance, in the 2008 drought in Western Camps, South Africa, severely affected water supply and agriculture, leading to the food shortage and health crisis. In this point, I want to say that I want to thank all the participants in this discussion, and particular for our cameramen, Joseph Oliver and Isbon, for the helping us, because but it is not part of us, but they are coming here to helping us to record this fun discussion. I want to give them thanks. And finally, frustration as the doctor, cutting the trees down, reducing the trees that can bring impact, the impact of the climate change to our people. So my advice: don't cut the trees, and I will stop here. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Dr. Baba Elijah. Now, let's just go direct to the last person, senior government official. Everything lies on you, so what do you have to say? What's the last?
Good afternoon, one again. My last point is the transitional challenges. Because there are some other questions we must keep, from greenhouse to a renewable energy source. And by advocating for such a thing, we must considering by addressing past geological and financial challenges of transition to green energy, including the cost associated with infrastructure and changes and the potential for job loss in the process. Because as a government, we don't encourage the shifting from green energy to a renewable energy source. Because there are some challenges when we are shifting, we must address the logistic challenges, financial challenges, including the cost associated with the infrastructure and the potential for job loss to the citizen concerned. And finally, my advice, because there are some other suggestions that we must eliminate the fossil fuel. So I strongly discourage, as a government official, I strongly discourage. There are in our country, there are two ministries, the allied ministries are working together, the Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Water. And in this regard, they have established some interconnected department. Because in the Ministry of Water and the Ministry of Environment, they have directed with a regulation and policy. We can regulate anything that concerning law. They will give the legal advice concerning the matter. And also they have a department of communication and public relations that can make a public awareness what are the health related issues. And on top of that, they have a directorate with research, development, planning and program. So they can research what are the new dangers to the advancement of technology. They can research and then they make monitoring and evaluation in this regard. On top of that, there is also directed with public environmental health and quality management. So they can advise on the health fraternity and what are the dangers and what are need to be maintained on this level. So and also they have a company that can provide the advice on the climate change, and they have that. This is my remark and advice to the stakeholders concerned that we strongly discourage the elimination of this fossil fuel unless we can put the system that can advise and what are the collaboration as stakeholders to put some.
And also I want to thank the owner of this place who allow us to sit down here and live for us this office, and he's sitting outside. And this is also his commitment. He's helping us to do our part. So I want to thank all those people, starting from the camera person, Isbon Nathanael, Joseph Oliver, and also my friend Deng Dut Deng. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you all for coming in and sharing with us your points. Trust me, these are very helpful points, and we look forward into working and as well as mitigating. After compiling all the points you raised, let's wait and we see the outcome which will come out of it, and we know how we will definitely know how to mitigate or to way forward to look into this. So from me today, we talked about panel discussion on the impact of carbon, especially fossil fuel, on accelerating climate change and as well as harmful effects on environment and human life. So this is the topic that we had today, and in the person people that we are having in today are Panta Mabior Ajaka, senior journalist, not forgetting Jandeng Daniel Dao, an environmentalist, and Evelyn Apio Samuel, a lawyer, looking also at Robert Baba Francis, a CEO of manufacturing companies, as well as Baba Elijah Doctor, and also a senior government official who really disagrees with the point. So thank you all for coming in and sharing. I'm also not forgetting the camera people that we are having in today, Joseph and Esbon, not forgetting Deng also behind there, and not forgetting the owners of this place. I really give them a huge thank, and also let's give a round of applause to each and every one of us and the people that they are having today. Thank you all. Meet up again.
Thank you.